I think a lot of girls think that I'm just lucky. Like, oh my God, it just happens for Marissa. And I'm like, you have no idea like the level of work I put in behind everything. Like every day I work on something. Like from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I'm thinking about what I should.
Okay, all right, Mike. Welcome everybody to another edition of Convos with Bishop. My name is Bishop. We are here in the lovely Villa Nero in the Design District. Thank you so much for our house management and also Dream Villas for this collaboration, for opening up their house to us so we can definitely have this wonderful conversation. I'm here with a person that is a very successful person in the creative space, I guess. Yeah, it's a creative space. Super top model as well too. Has done multiple campaigns for multiple brands. Fashion Nova, right? You done Opoly, right? Okay, I did a little bit of my research. I'm not gonna say your last name because I'm definitely gonna butcher it. Is it French?
Yeah.
It is French. How you say it?
Dubois.
Dubois. So Riss Dubois, right? How you doing, ma'am?
I'm great.
Appreciate you coming through. So got a quick question because you are actually in and very about like the whole mental health space. How are you feeling right now in a scale to 1 to 10, but you cannot use 7?
Wow, 7 is a good number.
That's a kick. Everybody always use 7.
Yeah.
So it's like 7 is always kind of like it's a default one. It's like, not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling right now?
No, I would say I'm a 9.
Okay.
Asked me on Monday, I was like a 2, but no, I feel much better. On Monday, I had like a good cry session and I feel better.
Yeah, I know the conversation we were having as far as like setting up for this conversation, there's a lot of things that you told me about like your life that you've went through. I mean, the only thing that I know as far as like within like of me knowing you, because I think the first time I met you was at Wet Miami, correct?
Yeah.
I didn't know you prior to though. I think I've known of you honestly.
We both knew of each other from social media.
Yeah, because we have a lot of mutual friends like Ronald Wayne, that's my best friend. Shouts to him. Obviously I knew Kelvin as well too. So when it comes to your background before the modeling and everything else too, I definitely want to try to get like your insight, also like your backstory, like like where you're from and everything else, and then we'll get started.
Okay. So I'm from a small town in Central Florida. Central Florida is pretty rural, so kind of near Gainesville, Tampa, Orlando area is where I'm from. Grew up in a very small town again, small graduating class. I went to FSU, got my degree in criminology. I was a nerd growing up, so I got my associates in high school. And so then I was really young graduating with my 4-year degree. And then I was a bartender and a waitress for 10 years from the time I was 15 to 25. Before I started modeling, I was working on an island in Tampa, and I was bartending on this island. And then I got discovered through Instagram through a workout video and came down to Miami. And the rest was basically history. I came down to Miami and did 2 photo shoots. And I think the audience down here took a liking to me pretty quickly. So things started happening and I moved down here. And now it's been almost 4 years that I've just been modeling and doing social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, the whole 9.
The creative space is definitely something that you have to have a lot of fortitude. You're gonna have a lot of mental capacity, honestly, because as far as getting a lot of denial or a lot of hate, I should say. From the small conversation we've had, you've definitely been through a lot to be able to prepare yourself to have that mental foresight.
Were you wanting me to touch on that?
I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, it's before you came here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I think no one knows this about me because I don't post about it, but yeah, before this whole world that I live in now, I just had a lot of tragic things happen to me. So when I was in high school, my first real boyfriend, first real love, he was murdered at a party that I was at.
Wow.
So it was 10 feet away from me that it happened.
Wait, so he was killed right there?
Mm-hmm, right in front of me, yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
And so it was kind of like a racial thing. It was like a whites versus black because I live in a small town. So there was a lot of like racial tension. So that's kind of what the setup of that was. And after the gunshots fired, everyone disappeared. And it was just me and a few of his close friends. So that happened when I was, I think, 15 or 16. And then a few short years later, I was with a guy for about 2 years. We were like, I thought we were going to get married. We had just got an apartment together. And this was when I had just moved to college, and he died of a brain aneurysm. And then I stayed in college and just kept myself super busy. My way of dealing with these things was just to like overachieve to the max. So I was just like an obsessive worker, obsessive in school, and I just kept myself ridiculously busy. And then, yeah, once I was kind of like starting to feel a little bit better and healed from my second boyfriend passing, my dad was incarcerated. So it was just like every man in my life was just like dropping, and my dad was the only other man in my life besides having a boyfriend.
And things come in threes.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then it made me scared for dating for a while too, because I was like, oh my gosh, this has happened to two of my boyfriends. Like, I feel like I have bad juju on me. But yeah, when my dad went away, that was really, really hard because he was my best friend. And he was the one who encouraged me to be an entrepreneur. And he was the one who told me I should start modeling. And yeah, so he was my best friend. He helped me figure out everything in life. So when he went away, then I was starting to take care of him. But he comes home pretty soon.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
Yeah, he comes
Congratulations.
home in March.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
it's
wow.
been a long time, 7 years.
How does that make you feel?
I'm excited. I'm excited to have him back. Like, he's like my biggest fan. I'm sure he'll watch this. He follows me on everything and is always giving me business ideas and just helping feed my determination and like drive to keep going, because yeah, this is a hard industry. You wear a lot of hats, and like I feel like sometimes I'm like, I'm just a little girl, like how am I supposed to know everything? So I'm happy to have him back and like have him help me navigate just business and things that are out of my wheelhouse.
So when you came here to Miami, like, you know, obviously it sounded like you just kind of like got thrown into the fire. So what were the things, like you said you had to wear like multiple hats. So what were the things that like you didn't know, or what were the things like you actually had to figure out as you go?
So I knew about social media before I moved to Miami. I was actually running social media accounts for various small businesses, like a realtor, a farm, few farms, like a restaurant. So I understood marketing and social media. I wasn't an expert, but I definitely understood it and could navigate that. But I didn't know anything about modeling. When I moved to Miami, I was definitely thrown into the fire, because where I'm from, everyone is like plain Jane, small town. There is no such thing as like fashion and style. So I was just very naive to the entertainment space, to the modeling world. Like when I first got here, like the level of glam, like I showed up to my first photo shoot and cried, like in the bathroom. Everyone was so beautiful. Girls had extensions, eyelashes, lips, Botox, filler, like everyone was just like these goddesses, and I was so intimidated. So
did you feel like you weren't good enough for the shoot?
Yeah, the first 2 years I was in Miami, it was really hard on me.
Holy crap.
I pretty much cried on my way to every photo shoot. And I mean, like, I would fake it till I made it, you know. I did my job and I got better, and now I'm way more confident. But I was not confident when I first moved here. And where I'm from is a small town, so it's like a small town where the beauty standards are very different. Like where I'm from, everyone is like, you want to be a size 0 and like have no hips, no butt. So I thought I was fat until I moved down to Miami, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, like, you're a goddess, like your body's goals. But I had never heard that in my entire life. So it was just, I had to rewire my brain moving here. But it got better. But yeah, in the beginning, just like the level of beauty was unreal to me. Like, and I'd never lived in a big city. So it was just like a lot. I didn't know. I was very naive.
What's really interesting is that you said that in your town, your hometown, you had to be like a certain size when it came to modeling, right? But it seemed to me like you actually like stepped into who you are naturally as a person. So like, was that something, because that definitely takes a lot of mental strength to actually have. So like your father was, was in prison. Like who else like was your support for you to actually stand on 10 toes of who you naturally are
Yeah.
versus like hearing all like the backlash at home as well too? Because I'm pretty sure you actually heard that as well when you're still here in Miami.
Yeah. I've always been very confident in who I am as a person. Like, it wasn't that I wasn't confident as a person. It was I wasn't confident putting myself out there on the internet.
I see.
And being a model.
I see.
So I didn't feel like a real model up until like this past year. But I'm also very, very, very hard on myself. Like, I'm my biggest critic because I hold myself to like a really high standard.
Wait, how many years have you been modeling?
Since 2021.
Really?
Yeah, not long.
Okay, so can I be very transparent right now? Like, for some reason, like, you just walk around and you just carry yourself like you're an OG.
Yeah, everyone thinks that.
I'm thinking that like you've been modeling for like, because I know you've been modeling for like, I know obviously like you're here, but like in my thoughts, just because like your track record and how much accomplishments you had, I'm thinking like 5, 6, 7 years, to be very honest with you.
Everyone thinks I've been doing it since like I popped out of school.
Yeah, facts.
But I have like an insane work ethic. So when I moved here and I saw like, oh, these girls I started at 25. So I'm like, these girls are young. They have more experience than me. Like, they know the lay of the land. So when I got here, I was like super aggressive. I was photo shooting like 2 to 3 times a week, constant. Like, I wouldn't miss a day posting. So I think that's why people think that I've had a longer career, is because once I got here, like, I just hit the ground running and I just went hard. Even if I was crying and didn't want to show up, like, you can ask my agent, I would be crying on the way to shoots and still do it. And like, I'd be like, I hate this, and I'd still post. Like, I didn't think I was good enough, but I would just keep going, and then I just kept getting work. And yeah, now people are like, oh, I thought you've been doing this forever.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, not really.
So what was but here's the thing. So what is like, I know when people ask me like, how do I do what I do, right? I try to explain to it as much as I can, but other people, like, sometimes, like, from what I'm hearing right now, like what is necessarily like the process of you actually getting that mental strength to be able to go from crying so much to be able to actually doing it? Because a lot of women, or just people in general, when they have something that's so hard, they don't do it.
Yeah.
So like, do you have, since you are a big mental, advocate for mental health, like, do you actually have a process of basically getting through those hurdles? Or no? If you don't, it is what it is. I'm curious, because
like, it would be really nice for me to say like, oh, I journal and like I have affirmations and I reflect.
Yeah.
Not really. No,
Okay.
I'm more so like, I will just bully myself into doing it. And I got a degree in criminology, and I'm not using that degree. So, and I help my family in a lot of different ways. And I chose this, and I'm not using my degree. So I'm like, this is the only option. We're making it work. So even when I get emotional, it can mess me up for like a day or two, but I never let it take me off track, because I'm like, this is your only option. You're making this work, because I don't have anything to fall back on. Like, I chose to be an entrepreneur, so this is what it is. You just have to make it work.
Yeah, you definitely, for the little that we spoke just now, it sounds like every single thing that you have been through has made you rise like a phoenix to be able to go up, and really, really step up to the plate. Now, there are some, I guess, obviously there's differences between men and women, but you sound like a person who, okay, let me just really explain. So trauma affects men and women very, very differently, okay? Usually, when trauma happens to men, they use it, they rise like a phoenix, they really turn into from negative to positive, and it actually makes them into a better man. Not all the time, but usually when trauma happens to women, it hardens them. It really kind of makes them like salty at the world, if that makes sense. And it makes things a lot worse as far as like trying for them to get through the world and also get through the trials and tribulations. It sounds like that did not happen to you.
No, and I tell people I'm like a bro girl, and what I mean by that is I was like, I think like a man.
Okay, see, okay.
And my dad has always been in my ear, so like everything he says like I am like a spitting image of my dad. Like he has made a little mini him. So yeah, for him, like growing up, he told me every day of my life, like mediocrity is a sin. Mediocrity is a sin. And so when these bad things happened to me, yeah, something just clicked in my brain, and I was like, this can't be, like, I was 15 the first time something traumatic happened, and I'm like, this can't be it for me. And both of the boyfriends that I had that passed, like, thought the world of me, and they had really big dreams, and they were high achievers.
Yeah.
And so I always felt like they gave me that, and they were like, okay, like, go excel, like, go be great. And even growing up being young, my dad would always be like, and my mom too, like, they would always just instill in me, like, you were made for greatness. And so I always grew up believing, like, I'm meant to be, like, I'm not meant to be mediocre. I'm meant to do something great. So yeah, when the bad things happen, I think it just like really homed that in. And yeah, I just went harder and harder. Every time something bad would happen, I'm like, okay, we're just going harder.
Yeah.
Because I felt like the harder I worked, the more I could get myself out of these sad, depressing situations. Like, I've been in places where I didn't have money and was sleeping in my car. And like, throughout different bad things that would go on, I'm like, okay, the only solution to this is working harder. Like, I can cry and I can change my personality, but that's not going to make anything good for me, you know? So I would just,
No, having that mentality is good, but have you ever had a moment where you felt like, especially when it came to the modeling, when you were pursuing that, like, did you have a moment where like you felt like it was the end?
I mean,
or you wanted to give up?
Yeah, with modeling, it's hard. I definitely want to give up all the time. I just keep going. I think for me, modeling is hard because it's a very like self-centered job, and I'm not like naturally self-centered.
Got it.
So it's like annoying and like taxing on me to think about myself all day. Like, in modeling, it's legit about what you look like. So it's like being good at your job comes down to how pretty you look and how good you posed and how your hair looks and how your makeup looks. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, this is so stupid. But it's my job, so it's like I want to be good at it, you know? So I mean, modeling is just hard because you can't impress everyone. One photographer is going to think you're great. The brand's going to think you're terrible. The internet's going to love you. They're going to hate you. One day I post and everyone's obsessed with me. The next day people are freaking out that I lost weight. Like, and for me, I don't care. Like, I have a tough skin when it comes to people talking about the way I look or my body. So that part is pretty easy to push past. But it's just hard, I think, putting yourself out there on display for everyone all the time. Like, I don't really crave attention, but a part of being good at my job is to garnish attention. Yeah. So it's like, I feel like my own desires kind of contradict what it takes to be good at my job.
But I mean, but just wanting attention, is that a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I just don't care to have it. But to be good at my job, you need to get it. And I'm like I say, I'm like an obsessive hard worker. So I want to be the best. Like, I want to be the best model. So that means I need to get the most attention. And so that means I need to post the most. And so it's like, dang, I'm constantly like, look at me, look at me, look at me. No, when in reality, I'm like, I could care less if you look at me.
Yeah. Posting. Oh man, I don't want to get into posting because I literally had a conversation with my partner about this. Posting is just such a fucking drag. It's like, it's a constant battle of like, how little to post, how much to post, what to post, when to post, why should you post it, how you should post it. You know, it's like with you, because I think with you, Riss, like, you have such a creative approach to your brand. I think you're very, very unique. I think honestly, like, you're one of the best models, honestly, here in South Florida.
Thank you.
And the reason why I say that is because whenever I go to your page, I never see something the same. You know? Yeah. Like, respectfully, I don't necessarily see you as far as like your body and your hips and all that. When I see your page, I see creativity and I see uniqueness. And I think that's really like the fucking grind that I have, or the gear that I need to grind, honestly, when it comes to Miami, is that models here think that the more ass, the more tits that you show, the more that you are going to proceed, the more you're going to push. And I think for 2024, I think that's furthest from the truth. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to look too much at my peers to compare, because when everyone starts doing that, then everyone starts looking the same. I mean, down to the way they dress, the way they act, the way they post. And I think that's always been my thing, is I don't like to follow trends. And like, if every girl's wearing this dress, even if I love that dress, I'm not going to buy it, because now I've seen too many people wear it and I don't want to fit into the masses. So I feel like I take that approach with my social media. I look at my feed and I'm like, I don't want everything to match. And I do a lot of bikini work because that's the brands that love me. But even now, right now, I'm planning my feed moving forward. And I'm like, I want to wear more clothes because everyone in Miami is showing skin. And I'm like, I want to be different. So I'm going to start wearing clothes and I'm going to add more fashion and more like actual creative styling. Because
but hold on. And shout out to Ronald Rain for being my best friend because he taught me a lot. For doing that, wouldn't that push you out of the Miami and South Florida market? Because isn't Miami, I mean, you let me know, like, isn't Miami more skin and more swimsuit boutique?
Yeah.
And what you have on, even like right now, you have a great dress. This gives me more New York style. Like, am I right about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, I think I'm wanting to try and to get more into different markets, whether it be LA or New York, because I feel, not that I've conquered Miami, but I'm already getting work in Miami. I'm already known in Miami. So now I'm like, what's the next challenge? Like, I don't want to just be
Miami. I think she did.
I don't want to be like that Miami girl for 10 years and just be in this bubble. Like, I really want to be able to, I've started to get some work in LA. I've done New York Fashion Week. So I'm like, I want to try and be working across all 3 major cities and not just be that Miami girl.
Yeah.
Because a lot of girls in Miami, I think the thing is that they want the instant gratification, and it's like the more skin you show, the more followers you get, the more engagement you get. But as far as being a real agency model, skin and numbers and a bunch of followers doesn't equate to money. So.
And here's the thing, you could probably get the attention, but maybe not the attention that you want.
Exactly.
And not the respect that you want as well too.
Exactly.
Because you can be labeled a certain model, which we already know what kind of model that is, versus like the respectable model that you can actually be, if that makes sense.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like, I know I could have a huge following and have millions right now if I posted bikinis every single picture. But for me, I don't like that. Like, I think it's boring. I want to be creative. And so I try to switch it up between fitness and reels and lifestyle and bikinis. Like, I always am going to do the bikinis, like a very widespread portfolio. To always keep like a lot of doors open and not just bikini brands for the rest of my career.
What do you think is the different ways that models, or let's just say this, like, what are the different ways that you think models can also like diversify like their portfolio as well too? Like, what other techniques, like what other ways, like other than just being a canvas? Because I do think in this day and age, it's not necessarily just only about being a model, but you need to be like a content creator.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is there's a few of us girls in Miami that have a really large following that are also content creators, and I feel like we're the ones who get booked the most. Because nowadays you can find gorgeous women everywhere, and girls are just, the beauty standards are rising, so there's more gorgeous women everywhere. But like for me personally, I get booked.
No, definitely. So
that's definitely what I think girls should do is have a YouTube, have a Twitch, have a TikTok, somewhere where they're showcasing their personality, because a lot of models still have to work. Like, they can't just live off their modeling.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's why I take social media so seriously, is because that is my secondary income. Because they're not the same. You get paid for modeling jobs and you get paid for social media. So if you're already good at taking photos, you're already making content, you might as well make social media money, because a lot of models I know still have jobs. And ideally they don't want to do that, I
kind of want to switch gears a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So you're a big advocate when it comes to body positivity. And I'm trying to see how should I, I've been thinking about this honestly for the past 3 days. I'm like, how can I word and say this question without coming across as not sexist, but just, you know what I'm saying? It's just, the only way I can say it honestly. Okay, can I just say
I have tough skin.
Okay, perfect. All right, good.
Care.
So let me ask this first question before I get into that. With the type of body that you have you ever gotten discriminated against?
Yeah.
Okay, talk about that.
I mean, in Miami, that's why I do really well here, because each major city for modeling has a look. And in Miami, my body shape is ideal.
Okay.
So here, I don't experience it. In New York, I'd have designers just flat out look at me like, you're huge.
Jesus.
And they don't sugarcoat it. They're just
wow.
no. I had a designer, she looked at me and she was like, she looked at my face and she liked me. And then I was kind of blocked by someone else's body. And then she saw my full body and she looked at my hips and she was like, they're so big. So big. What am I going to fit her in? And she's saying it like loud in front of everyone.
Just real obnoxious with it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
In LA, I've only gone out there to work with brands that already book me. So they already know what I look like.
Yeah.
So I haven't had any issues there. But yeah, I would say like old school designers that do like dresses or couture or New York based designers, they haven't shown like huge interest unless they already know like that they're working with a curvy girl. But if I, like a lot of castings in New York, on the flyer, it says sizes 0 to 6. And I'm a size 10 to 12. So yeah, they're just flat out like, no, you're way too big.
But you've been on the runway before.
Yeah.
Plenty of times.
I've been on the runway, but it's way harder for me to get booked in New York. Like this past New York Swim Week, or Fashion Week, I reached out to all the designers beforehand because the year before I went, and a lot of designers were like, we love your walk, we love your look, but we only have samples. So that's why they need girls to be small, because they only have one of that outfit. And normally we cast the day before the show, and then the next day is the show. So they don't have time. From my waist to my hips is a 20-inch difference. So they don't have time to customize a whole dress. But this year I did walk for a dress designer, but I had contacted her prior, and she was like, yes, I've been wanting to work with a curvy girl, send me your measurements so I can customize something. So for Miami, it's easy because they're just putting us in bikinis or activewear. That's like the two major markets here. So I can wear any sort of bikini or activewear, it's gonna fit. But if I'm in New York with like a whole set, it needs to fit my body.
See, I think a lot of women need to really, really, like, when are you coming out with your course?
Like your fitness?
Not your fitness. No, I'm talking about like how to be a model in Miami, how to like runway. Because you're giving out game right now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, not even just women, but I think a lot of people, they become way too spoiled, especially if they had the success that you had. So what you did is that you did, like, you reverse engineered. You were like, okay, you know what? I want to go to New York Fashion Week. I know that I am a curvier woman when it comes to these type of things. I need to do my due diligence and my research first, reach out to the designer, and then see how I can work out with them to see if it can work out. But like, you found a way. But like, other people would have been like, okay, you know what? I'm too big. They probably think I'm too fat, whatever. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I think that's what makes my career like have been successful thus far, is because I'm very resourceful and I'm not gonna take no for an answer. So I'm like, okay, you said no, but the next designer is gonna say yes if I frame it in a different light. That's why I say I wear a lot of hats, because a lot of girls will just only do a job when it falls in their lap. And for me, I'm like, no, I need to post because that gets me exposure. I need to contact the brands I want to work with so I'm on their radar. Need to follow up, you need to negotiate rates, yada, yada, yada. But
you do all that to yourself?
I have one agent, but I'm not with like a major agency.
Okay, so, but you don't even have like assistant or anything? That you just, damn, you just power that shit all by your damn self.
Yeah.
Fuck. That's crazy. That's impressive too.
That's why I say, like, I think of this like a man. Like a man would run their full business. I'm like, I am a full business. I can't just think because I'm pretty, it's gonna happen for me. Because that's why so many girls call themselves models, but only model like once every 5 months, because they don't really like push it. You know, like you gotta do all of it to really be a working model, because it's a competitive industry.
What are your other gripes when it comes to models?
I mean, they just complain a lot. They just complain a lot. Like, it's still a job. Like, it's a very beautiful,
it's a privilege, honestly.
Yeah.
How you're able to honestly monetize off of your looks, like what God has given you.
Yeah.
And you're complaining about that. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. They complain a lot. That's really my biggest thing, is like, I get annoyed with the complaining, because I think a lot of girls think that I'm just lucky. Like, oh my God, it just happens for Marissa. And I'm like, you have no idea like the level of work I put in behind everything. Like, every day I work on something. Like, from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I'm thinking about what I should be doing. I have to-do list, like, And then girls are like, how are you always so booked? And I'm like, girl, because I'm constantly like...
Because the work that you're doing is literally 90% of what you don't see.
Yeah.
And you really only see 10% of what you actually see. But that's literally how life is.
Yeah.
You know, like, how are you able to be the hardest worker in the room, but also be the hardest worker while nobody's watching? You know, I think that's honestly like the secret sauce. And I think just people in general, and not even just women, I think everybody is just too soft these days.
Yeah.
When it comes to that.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why, like, my dad was on me. Like, my whole life I've been like a overachiever, like obsessively, like I have to make all straight A's. I have to get all the scholarships. I have to do all these things. So that just carried into this career. So that, you know, plays an effect versus some people are just different. And I had to learn that. Like I used to work in sales and I had a team of girls. I was like in an MLM and I was really good at it.
Nice.
But, you know, in an MLM, you have to build a team and they have to produce sales. And I built this huge team, but none of them would work as hard as me. And then my mom was like, Marissa, you have to realize, like, not everyone is built that way. Like, not everyone's meant to have their own business. Not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone is obsessive with their goals like you are. So I just had to learn that and, like, deal with people as they are.
Yeah, one of the, I would say the common denominators when it comes to this conversation is to diversify yourself to be able to really, you know, be unique and like, you know, be different from the pack. And I think that other than you modeling, one of the other things that you do very, very well is like your fitness journey and also like your fitness acumen. So I kind of want to get into that as well too, because that's one part I don't necessarily know too much about you. You know, how's that looking? Like how are you able to actually, you know, use, I guess, your modeling and also your social media to also expand your brand into the fitness realm?
Yeah. So that's how I got discovered, was actually through fitness content. And I never planned on becoming a model. I was very knowledgeable in social media and I really wanted to have a digital course. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make a fitness guide. So I had got my fitness training certification. I was working at a gym. I was making fitness content. And then I got contacted to model here in Miami. And so then that kind of took a head of its own. And now I'm back making fitness content. I have a fitness page. And I got back into it because people just kept asking me, like, what do you do? What are your workouts? What do you eat? So I started posting it again. But I've been an athlete my whole life. I've played basketball since I was like 6 or 7. Played basketball and volleyball. And then I was going into the military. That was my first plan. After I got my criminology degree, I was going to go into the military. So I started training for boot camp for like a year. I was training.
When I first met you, I was actually going to ask you if you were military.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
I have that personality.
You have the aura of military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was training to do, was go into the military. But that at that time, Trump was going into presidency, so it kind of like scared me. Like I didn't know what the State of the Union was going to be. So yeah, did I answer your question about fitness?
Yeah, but keep talking, it's all good.
Okay. But yeah, right now I'm working on a guide. I've sold small guides in the past. I was really big into HIIT for a long time. That's where I made my first like weight loss transformation. Because when my second boyfriend, he had passed while I was in college, and that whole year after I was just grieving and I didn't work out. So I gained a lot of weight. I gained like 40 pounds. So then when I went back into fitness, I went like hardcore. I was doing boot camps at like 6 a.m., cardio at the end of the night forever for like a year. And I lost like 50 pounds. And then ever since I've just stayed consistent because both my dad and my sister have had gastric bypass surgery in my family. So obesity is just run in my family. So I started knowing that like I really have to be serious about being healthy when I was like 17. So I'm glad because I've had the habits for a long time now, you know, versus other people, like they grow up skinny and then out of nowhere they just gain a bunch of weight. They don't even know how to start. So I've always been very aware. Like I used to cry as a little girl and be like, I'm fat. And my dad would come in the room and he would just give me like very hard truths. He would just be like, look, I'm this big. This runs in your family. And my mom's curvy. So I was never going to get rid of curves and I always had extra weight on me. So my dad would just tell me like straight up, like you're always going to have to work 3 times as hard as all your friends to look half as small as they are. Like,
yo, your father's like the real MVP.
Yeah.
Like real fucking talk.
Yeah.
Because, man, that's so fascinating.
He didn't really like let me cry. He would always just give me hard truths.
And that is like the complete opposite of like how parents would raise daughters. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, the other side would have been like, oh, no, Riss, it's okay. Then, you know what? You're just as perfect as you are. It's going to be okay. But no, your father was like, yo, like, this is the life. This is literally the reality. I need you to do this, and this for you to be successful.
Yeah.
Like,
that's kind of where my username, Reality with Riss, came from, because I've always said I'm like a realist. Like, I live in reality.
I was waiting for a reality show when I learned, when I saw that first name, I was like, where's the reality show?
Yeah, I've had my team try to get me to do a reality show. Yeah. I'm like, I just don't think I'm entertaining enough.
I think you're entertaining enough for real. Yeah, definitely. Wow.
But yeah, so my dad was always like a realist. No, we live in reality. I'm not sugarcoating anything. You're just gonna have to work harder than your friends. Because I would cry because I'm a little girl and I had a grown woman's body even as a little girl.
Yeah.
So in middle school, I filled out. And so I looked like a teacher while all my friends are super petite. And my dad was just like, you're never going to get that small. Just get over it now, you know? And so it took me a while, but now I'm like, okay, I'm happy with what I am. But I just know, even to this day, I work out at a gym with all bikini competitors, and these girls all started from being super skinny and built out their body. Versus me, I started being heavier and I'm trying to shrink down my body.
Yeah.
And so it's frustrating because they're like, oh, I have to eat so much. Oh, I never do cardio. And I'm like, I have to track every single thing I put in my mouth and do excessive cardio.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I look at food and I blow up.
Yeah.
So
I'm just used to it at this point. I just know, I have to put in the work. It's just what it is. Because if I don't, I can gain weight so easily.
Yeah. You definitely have a very, very diverse portfolio when it comes to your work ethic and what you do. You're very, very savvy when it comes to social media. I kind of want to dive into that if that's okay. So I think you have a lot of different things that you can do within your brand, right? And I guess my question to you is that how, with all of the things that you do right now, to give some advice to the people right now, how can you make everything that you do make sense?
When I used to run social medias, I would give people a little class on this is what to do.
Yeah.
So I would always tell people have your pillars. So make it 3 to 5 things that make up your life that you're most interested and passionate about. Because it has to be something that you really like and is a part of your real life, because you're going to have to make content on that for years. So for me, it's modeling, it's fitness, and it's fashion and lifestyle. So that's pretty simple because it can encompass pretty much anything I do. So for a realtor, I would be okay, your business, real estate, and you really like to travel, so make content about your travels. And you're obsessive about cleaning your house, make cleaning content. So then that's the 3 things, and you just keep recycling them over and over. And then before you know it, you have people that follow you because they need to buy a house, but they also are obsessed with how you clean your house. And over time, it sounds random in the beginning, but if you keep making content about those things, then people feel like they know your whole self, if that makes sense. But some people will be niche down. And I just don't advise that personally, because I don't think if you niche down, say you just do fitness, you're stuck in that one box.
Yeah.
It's you can't post anything else, and you get burnt out on just being the fitness girl.
Yeah.
And what if you go through a major change and you get pregnant? What are you going to do now? So for me, I'm I always try to keep my hands in a few different jars, whether it be the fitness or the modeling, because if I steer away from one, I always have a few more that I could post to make it more well-rounded versus just posting one type of thing.
And I think I think the good thing about you is that since you do a lot of modeling gigs, you do a lot of campaigns as well too, the fitness journey that you have is very, very paramount, because you have to have that to be able to prepare and to show up the best for your gigs.
Exactly.
So that can definitely help out with you right there. Yeah, I think a lot of people just really overcomplicate things way too much. They try to make things a little bit more perfect, and nothing is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And definitely it hinders you from growing. The more perfect you try to make everything look, over time, your stuff is going to look better. I used to just post anything with no rhyme or reason, just kept posting. And then people actually knew who I was. And now I'm okay, at least I have eyeballs now. I think what people mess up in the beginning is they want to be perfect off rip. And I'm no one's even watching.
Yeah, facts.
You don't have enough followers to be putting in hours into one video. Just build your community up. Then you'll see what they even want from you, what they engage with. And then you can delegate where putting your time is actually worth it.
Yeah.
Right now, I've been doing social media. Even before I moved down to Miami, I had started social media. So I've been doing it for 5, 6, 7 years. I just now started making an aesthetic feed. Because before then, I'm like, I don't have the time, and I just need to keep posting and working with as many people as possible. Yeah. So like, people want to start off rip with everything being perfect, and I'm like, it's not worth your time or money. Just build a community first, and then you can make it all look pretty.
Does working with brands, does it get a little bit hasty sometimes? Like as far as like, I don't know, because I'm seeing that, you know, like, and this is straight ignorance for me, you know, like all the models I see, like, you know, they work with these different brands, but is there a certain brand that you kind of have to like choose? Like, how does it work? As far as like working for Opali, working for like Fashion Nova, working for all these other brands.
Yeah.
I mean, do they, for lack of better words, share all the models or?
Well, it's hard to say because it's different. Like, some girls are working with Opali just on a posting basis.
Okay.
For me, I model for them.
Oh,
so
okay,
they're not sending me clothes to post on my social media. They're hiring me to just come do a job for the day, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where people get confused, is because some girls will post brands when they bought the outfit, and they'll just tag the brand in hopes to get the brand's attention. But then a viewer will see that and be like, oh, she works with them. Yeah. And you don't know that. Another girl is just getting free clothes from them and not even getting paid. And then the next girl's getting paid $10,000 for her post and tagging them. And then me, I'm posting and tagging them, but I was really just the model. So it's like, are they posting on an influencer basis, or are they posting on a model basis? But yeah, I have noticed like Fashion Nova and Shein, they share a lot of the same models, like on their e-com. A lot of my friends work for both. And yeah, like if say Fashion Nova finds a girl and she, like, I've gotten booked now by more people because they found me through Fashion Nova. I see. I think, but some brands will have you, like, you have to do a non-compete. So say you sign a Fashion Nova deal for social media, you can't work with Opali or Pretty Little Thing and post their stuff. If I was like signed in a contract with Fashion Nova and it was exclusive, then I couldn't model for another company. But I don't have any exclusive deals. You
brought up actually something very, very interesting when you said that there's some models that actually get free clothes to be able to showcase, and like that's kind of like their, I guess their ROI, not the ROI, but that's kind of like their exchange of value. So I got a question for you. Like, do you believe that it is the hardest it's ever been to get paid by brands in today's age? Because of these models or these people that's like, hey, I got 10, 15,000 followers. They don't necessarily put their mindset of getting paid. They just care about getting the clothes. Yeah. Like, doesn't that mess up like the pool? Yeah. Okay, talk about that, because if that drives me up a wall, I know that drives you up a freaking wall as well too. Yeah. It's the whole industry is still so new, and there's so much gray area. And I like on Threads, I followed a bunch of creators on there, and people are openly talking about what they're getting paid. So I always tell people, like, super hot girls, like model Miami girls, normally are not getting paid much. And I think that's crazy. Yeah. But then a micro influencer with 10,000 followers, but they're all women. Like, she has she's not sexy. She's not doing anything oiled up on a beach. She is just a mommy influencer. Yeah. She's making $5,000 a post. Meanwhile, a Miami girl's making $500 and just got some free clothes, or maybe not even making any money. A model is like, well, I just need more clothes because I want to keep shooting. Yeah. And they're just thinking it's cute just to keep shooting. So they'll accept clothes and then tag the brand. So it's all over the place. So yeah, it does mess it up. And it makes it even hard for models, because sometimes they're like, oh, well, we'll just send it to a girl's house and she'll make us that whole video. That's the issue. That's the issue, because I've seen that so many times. It's like, yo, like, you're messing up the pool. Like, especially like dope creators that's just like, they haven't gotten the chance yet. So they think that putting themselves out there and like trying to get the clothes would actually get them closer to getting paid. But they're just going to be getting taken advantage of every single time. Because if I was a brand and I have a person who has crazy engagement, but like she doesn't really have that business savvy, why am I going to pay her $5,000 a month or 10? And I had to learn that the hard way. Yeah, but I was just taking clothing deals, and then I'm like,
talking to influencer managers, and I just got an influencer manager, and she was like, "Oh no, your rates need to change."
The facts.
Like she just quoted me at 15,000 for a reel.
I hope it's more.
And I was like, I would have sold that for 1,000 and not knowing, because in my mind I'm like, oh well, I'm a model and I have a lot of male following, and so I'm scared brands won't pay that. But I'm like, I still have a large female following and my engagement is better than.
You know what my mentality is? I always hear that, like, oh, if I have so many male followers, then it's not gonna work. No, first of all, if a lot of those males actually have girlfriends, if I was like following you and I had a girlfriend, I'm like, okay, you know what? And she had like your body, I'm like, no, you know what? If you look great in that, then my girlfriend looks great on that.
And I have guys message me and ask me all the time, like, oh, I think I want to get this for my girlfriend. I
can imagine.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'll send guys links, and I'm like, yeah, this is where I got it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really dope. I think that's like the next shift we need to have within the creator community.
We need like a union.
Union? Yeah, no, for real. Because like the only way that people like successful, because at the end of the day is like, I feel like everybody's getting underpaid. And the only reason why we're getting underpaid because we literally have just people who are just worried about the low hanging fruit versus like standing on their like 10 toes and be like, no, like I know for sure that I should at least get this amount of money. Then once that happens, then the brands will actually come at like the creators and also the models as a collective with respect. Okay, Ms. Riss, it's been a good conversation so far. This has actually been really dope. I appreciate you. So I have one question for you. Well, I have two questions and then we're gonna wrap up. So if you can look back at yourself, your younger self, that all that you know, what letter would you write your younger self?
I would just tell my younger self that you don't have to have it all figured out today, and that you're still very, very young, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and that you're good enough. I think I spent so many years, even now, I have to remind myself, like, you are good enough, and I always feel like I need to be better, I need to be better, I need to be better. And I just need to, you need to slow down and enjoy the journey and enjoy all the wins and stop looking for the next accomplishment. And
listen to your father.
Yeah.
Ms. Riss, it's been great. I appreciate you coming through. So I have one last thing we do. So after every single conversation, I have something that is called the last call. So I'm gonna give you a barrage of different words, and then you just basically give me the first thought / word that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. FSU.
Seminoles.
No, I mean, like you're feeling like, obviously it's Seminoles, but it's like, Like
my, nostalgia.
Okay, there we go. Okay, good.
I miss it.
Your hometown.
A lesson.
A lesson, okay. Let's see here. Modeling.
Challenging.
Okay. Your first ever model gig.
Paid.
Cool. Your first shoot ever.
Traumatizing,
okay. Your father.
My hero.
And the last one, Ms. Riss. And if it has to be more than one word, it can be for the last one. I'm talking about you.
Determined.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's definitely really been dope. If you can give all your shameless plugs of where we can find you, new things that's actually happening right now that you're working on, where we can find your website, try to, give us, not that you need it, but, like all your things you got going on, your offers, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So I am Reality with Riss on all platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that. I also have a fitness page. It's called Thick, THICC, Fit with Riss, and I'm currently working on a guide, so that should be out in the next few weeks, hopefully sooner. And yeah, that's all I have going on for the time being.
Well, I know there's definitely gonna be a lot more things that's gonna happen on the horizon. Anywhere I can support, let me know. And thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Only the best.